G'day, my name is Joel Rasmussen for Southern Cross Combat, and ahead of his fight at Eternal 82 on the 10th of February, I'm talking to the Eternal Bantamweight champion, Mr. Rod Costa. Rod, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely, it's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you today. I introduced you, of course, as the Eternal Bantamweight champion, also coach, a fitting title. How is the balance between the coaching and the training going?
It's pretty good. It can get hard sometimes if you're doing too much of each, coming up to a fight. But I like coaching. I like fighting, and I think it keeps me disciplined if I keep doing both. Yeah, I like it.
Does being a coach, I know you've been coaching for a very long time. If I'm not mistaken, coaching longer than your MMA career. Am I right with that?
Um, a little bit longer. Like I've always done a little bit of coaching here and there, as you do if you when you're competing, to make some money here and there. But I've opened my gym mid 2020, and I started fighting again late 2020. So like a proper coach in terms of having my own gym and being responsible for my own guys, about the same time. Yeah.
As someone who has been doing both simultaneously, does that give you, when you are training, more of an insight because you can understand from a coaching perspective?
Um, yeah, I think coaching helps just in general, I think it forces you to kind of understand the positions and try to have a deeper thought about how to even explain the positions and things like that. So I think it helps with being able to understand things, and in turn it does help with training camp and just getting better. So yeah, I think it helps for sure. But I think it helps in every aspect. If you're trying to compete, if you're just trying to be the best martial artist you are anyway. Let's say you don't want to compete and you don't even want to own a gym. I think it's a good idea just to, if you're a higher belt, I have a couple of guys out there, they're higher belts and they just coach one class for me. I think it helps anyway.
Are you coming to us today from Costa Academy? Is this where you're
Yeah,
located at the moment?
yeah. That's my reception area here. Yeah.
How is the fort going? Everyone holding it down well?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah, it's good. I have a it'd be tough to kind of compete at this level if I didn't have a bunch of people that would be keen to support me when the time comes. So like I said in the beginning, I have a lot of guys that help me out with classes and with things in the gym when it gets close to the fight. So yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I have a few guys that coach for me as well, so I'm not just teaching. I'm learning here and there as well. So that's another plus.
So you're a guy who infamously will take any fight whenever, whoever, does not matter. How nice is it now to have a camp where you know your opponent, you know who you're fighting, and fingers crossed it's not going to change on 24 hours.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. But I also like I don't want to keep doing last minute fights and things like that, but it is something that I enjoy doing in the past. It is stressful and leading up to it, you probably don't not the greatest of ideas in your mind, but I think the challenges that I've taken due to last minute fights and different opponents and things like that, I think it all sums up to the experience. So I'm glad I had him. I'll be happy if I never had to do another one of those, but I'm glad I had it. It was a good experience, to be honest. Looking back.
Of course, talking about the training at Costa Academy, along with that, you also train at a Scrappy MMA over in Perth. What
Yeah.
does like a day like today look like for you? How do you balance the time between the two gyms? What is about today in camp like?
Yeah. So the way I do it is in the mornings. We have the training 9:30 at Scrappy, so the pro class. That's Monday to Friday every day. And then I have a second session I do at my gym, which is at night, 6 or 7 around then, depending on the day. And I do a hard grappling session in the gym here at mine. So I do 2 days, one at Scrappy, one here. And then sometimes I train with my guys with the, let's say sometimes rarely I'm teaching at 6 a.m. I join in with a couple of rows and I do things here and there, but mostly one hard day in the morning. I mean, one hard session in the morning, one hard session at night. And then I do weights 4 times a week together with that.
And then training out of Scrappy, obviously renowned, ridiculously high level talent coming out of there. Mr. Daniel Williams, Mini T, just his next opponent just got announced, and you're training with Jack Della, Madalena. What type of when you're working with those guys, how does that assist you as a fighter?
It's pretty awesome to be honest. I like those two guys you mentioned with I kind of do a lot with them as well. Obviously I try to get something out of them and they try to get something out of me because like Mini T's a completely different style than me, is a super high level um like kickboxer and stand up fighter. So it's just great to be able to be in the ring with him and spar and try to take a little bit of his technique and his style to me. And then Della is the same thing. Della's just so well rounded, so good at everything. He kind of just, I think you just grow by being around people like that and doing rounds with people like that. It elevates your own skill. So it's good. I'm happy I get to do things with both of them. Even though they're different level and different weights even than me, but we all get a lot from doing things with each other. It's great, man. I love doing my whole career. I felt like I had guys like that, which is great, right? I had guys that on that next level that I can kind of look up to and try to emulate or learn something from. Like when I was in Brazil training, I had Pena, which at the time was like top 3 jiu-jitsu in the world. Now I have Della, Minity, and back in those guys. So um yeah, probably my favorite part of training is training with those high level guys.
As a champion yourself, though, on the local scene, do you find, especially as a coach, you have begun to step into that role for other people?
Yeah, I think there's a hierarchy of people around the every gym, right? So obviously at Scrappy we have Della, then Minity, and they're doing things at the highest of levels, UFC and one and then below that, you got guys like Becca, maybe me, and a couple of the other guys. And then below that, there's the pros that are just starting to get their career going. So I think it's a hierarchical um step. They kind of go through. And I've been training for a long time, so I'm definitely at the top of the stairs. But there's many levels above me as well. So um, yeah, for sure.
How do you feel kind of being in a position like that?
It's good, man. It kind of just sneaks in on you. Even at the gym here, um, obviously some people look up to me and Marco and the guys that are the highest levels at my gym here, and then we help the guys below, and hopefully those guys that we're kind of helping out when they get to a better level, they'll help the people above. That's what martial arts is about. Is a little, you help the people below you, and the people below you help the people below them. Um, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I think that's how martial arts should be. It's tough if you don't have that in place.
You talked about training with both of those guys, and they are different weights to you. Talking about the weight, I know. I think a lot of MMA fans associate you with the featherweight division. If you search for you and some of your eternal fights come up, nearly all of them available are featherweight fights. You, of course, the
Yeah.
bantamweight champion. How did you going to bantamweight kind of come to be?
Um, I don't know how it came to be, but when I've always just walked around the same way most of my adult life. And when I used to compete in jiu-jitsu, it was I had to weigh in 64 with a gi. So I had to get down to about 62 kilos. And that's like at world championships and things like that, right? And that's fighting on the same day. So I'll be weighing 62 and a bit, and I'll fight literally half an hour later, weighing about the same as I'm weighing now. And the way that evolved to that, I started competing jiu-jitsu at 70. And then just because, you know, like you as a blue belt, whatever, you just go in at whatever you weigh in. As you get serious, I remember I went to a Worlds once that I did pretty well. Is when I got third at purple belt. The guy that I lost to, he might like I just remember going in the final, and that's not why I lost, by the way, but I just remember going in the finals with him and being like, this dude weighs at least 10 kilos more than me, you know? So kind of gets you thinking about preparation and how much those guys are kind of cutting weight to every edge counts, you know. So they want to be the heaviest they can be, and I'm kind of just going in as a amateur purple belt, just whatever I weigh, and that doesn't work, you know. So that made me drop down to light featherweight in jiu-jitsu, which is 64 with the gi. So then I had to do a long preparation and diet and put a little bit more effort into it. And then when I started fighting MMA again, I think it's just similar. You know, I remember my first few was at featherweight just because I didn't really want to cut that much weight. And I felt like the guys that I was fighting, like I don't think 3-4 kilos, they're not at the highest levels, you know, the first few guys you fight. So why make so much effort? Let me see what I can do. And then when it got to a point where I started fighting Khan, Offley, and some of the heavy guys, I think I just thought to myself, if I ever do make it to a high level like Mini T and Jack Della are, I need to be fighting at my own weight class, you know. So that's what made me go down a bantamweight. It's more looking to the future and looking at if I ever do make that next step, I might as well start getting used to the weight now, you know, because there's no way I can fight featherweight at UFC or one, for example. They you know, like I've known some featherweights in the UFC. They're massive people. So I think it's just about that. Yeah.
So do you see bantamweight now being kind of where you're going to stay from here on into your career?
I don't know. I'll fight whatever. I like fighting. And like the reason why I haven't done featherweight, I mean bantamweight, the last few fights, people think I'm trying to. I have a hard time making the weight or whatever that is. It's not fun making bantamweight, but the reason why I haven't fought more in there is because there hasn't been anyone to fight, you know. So I think when I won the bantamweight title, they didn't have a clear contender. I think they wanted to make let the game play out and see who's gonna emerge. And then I took a couple of fights in between. Obviously, I had the double belt opportunity, so I took that. Why wouldn't you, you know? And then after that, I fought Ethan because there wasn't anyone to fight at bantamweight at that time, you know. So yeah, I'll concentrate on bantamweight, but if they offer me another matchup that I like at featherweight, I'll do that too. Yeah.
Rod, I don't know how you say you don't want to take short notice fights and then you go, I'll fight anyone. I don't care.
I can't, but I'll tell you this: I can't make a short notice bantamweight fight. I can't get down to bantamweight within a few days, you know. So I think that's why another part of like why some of those fights were at featherweight is just because featherweight I can make it within a week, you know.
When you look at those two divisions, both bantamweight and featherweight in Australia, you've had two fights with Justin Van Heeden, and you know, as you mentioned, they're kind of Khan Offley and many other characters in those divisions. What do you think of those divisions currently in Australia?
I think is more competitive than bantamweight, you know. Yeah, but it's weird when I was fighting featherweight actively. There's a lot of people that. It's not they don't want to fight each other, but it's like you had Khan Offley that had a really good record and it seemed to be very hard to get him to fight anyone, you know. Not blaming the guy, like he's like, you know, if you have a record of 0-1, 8-1 or whatever his record is, and you're probably thinking, I don't want to reset, I want to get my shot at the UFC or whatever the next goal is, you know. So I can understand why they keep avoiding that, but you know, I think there's a lot of this it's hard to match up people, you know, especially you got Eternal, you got Hex, and normally they don't really, you know, like whoever signed with Hex stays with Hex, and whoever signed with Eternal stays with Eternal in general. So I think there's a little bit of that, but I like the guys at featherweight, you know. I like the fighters there. I like obviously I fought Jack Jenkins. He's in the UFC now. He's doing pretty well. Um, I hope Van Hayden can get a shot at his go at fighting UFC. You know, see how he does there. Um, and I'm a fan as well, so I like all the guys to get to where they want to get to.
So you are coming into this bout as the defending champion. I wanted to know if I know it's not your first title fight, but coming into a bout defending, someone is coming to take what is yours essentially. Does that change your mindset at all going into this fight?
Um, I don't think it does. That's my first time defending a title, you know. So we'll see when I step in there. But I would like to think that it doesn't. I think it's just, you know, even the belt is just it's just a fight. It's just a fight. You know, I think the only thing that honestly changes is the 5 5s. You don't have 3 5s anymore. You have 5 5s. But I think everything else is pressure you put on yourself and things that you put on yourself. You know, like, oh, I'm defending, I'm the champion, this that. At the end of the day, it's a fight. I'm going in there with Philpott, and the best man will win. Like, I don't think it makes a difference, or it shouldn't make a difference if you're defending, if you're not, if you know. I would hope it doesn't. It doesn't make a difference, but we'll see. I'll let you know after.
Please do. You mentioned your opponent there, Alan Philpott, and you said earlier that you like all the guys at featherweight. You and Philpott, I don't know if you guys necessarily like each other. There has been some kind of exchanging of words. What
Yeah.
is kind of going on between you two?
Um, not nothing really. I don't really know him that well. I've said in another interview, but he used to be a super friendly guy to me. He added me a while back when he was losing all his fights, and I was like kind of like at the top of the division. He was pretty nice to me, messaged me. We exchanged ideas here and there and exchanged messages, and but I've never met the guy. He's just always been friendly. And then all of a sudden, after my Ethan fight and after he beat Sean, he kind of it seems like he turned on the promotion side of things, you know. And obviously I like now I don't like the guy because of what he's saying to me, but if I'm trying to be objectively honest about everything, I think he's just putting on a persona. He seems to be one of those guys that as much he needs to believe the dumb stuff that he says, you know. So he's whatever. Like, so someone told him, 4 different people apparently told him that I miss weight, and because I have friends in the commission, they kind of let my weight go through. He said that's for Bantamweight, and then he said that for featherweight, me and Van Heiden miss weight, both of us, and the commission just let it slide. So it's just a bunch of things that to me, it's either him being dumb and trying to put on a promotional aspect, you know, of things, or it's just him trying to put things out there and believe whatever he's saying to give him a little bit of a push and a confidence. You know, some people I think need that. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Like I don't hate him. I'm not gonna go in there with emotion. Um, but he's just like that. Yeah, there's no more friendly talking. He just kind of because either one of the real people, right? Let's say if he believes what he's saying, right? To me, that's just dumb. I don't whatever. I don't want to talk to you ever again. And if you're just promoting something out of nothing like that and so fake and so out of the blue, you know, either also I don't want to have any part of like ever being friends with someone like that. So it doesn't really matter. We were never friends. We won't be friends from now on. And made the better man win.
You mentioned how you don't respect Alan Philpott, and I was wondering,
I respect him competitively as a competitor.
well, is there anything that can happen in the fight afterwards that would make you respect him as a competitor?
No, because he can because I'm not saying this like I feel he's doing. I'm not doing this to get into his skin. I'm not doing this to get a reaction out of him. That's just what I believe. And the reason why I believe that is because he quits in most of his fights. He gives excuses after every loss and then says he's not giving excuses. It's just attitudes that I can't respect as a competitor, you know. So I'm not just saying this to get into his skin. And let's say he beats me, right? How is he gonna beat me? Even if he submits me, what nothing really changes about what I don't respect about him competitively, you know. If he goes out there and knocks me out, good. I never said you're not a good martial artist. I never said you're not a good fighter. You know, you do have good skills. You even have better skills at grappling that I think most people believe. You know, but it doesn't change what he is. You know, he's a weak mentally person that gives excuses about every loss he's got. Um, and quits when the going gets tough in the cage. That's a fact. You know, if he changed things around and proves that he's a different person within the next 10 fights, then he can definitely change. But so far, he's proven to be a little mental midget.
I want to talk about talking about that kind of mentality and how people approach fights. You talking there, I've been fortunate enough to speak to kind of a lot of fighters, and how are you so mentally strong to be able to say things like, he might knock me out, I don't really care? Like what brings that comfortability to you?
Look, I think a couple of things, right? I think I understand that. I think I'm a better fighter than him, and I don't think the result necessarily will change any of that. You know, I'll accept whatever happens, and I'll move on without giving excuses, win or lose. Um, but he's also like in a I never thought I'll get finished. You know, in MMA, to be honest, it's kind of like a maybe a silly thing, but in retrospect, after the Van Hayden fight, it was a big shock. You know, I watched the fight a lot, and like the punch that he caught me with didn't really make sense to me, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him. Obviously, he timed on a real good punch, and he was good enough to follow up and get me out of there. You know, but I can't look at that. Like I choose not to look at that and try to come up with 500 excuses why that happened. Like he hit a good punch that got me out of there, and now I know I can get knocked out. You know, so that I know it can happen, and I know I'm tough as well. I know it's hard to get me out of there. I know that like Van Hayden was knocking a lot of people down before that fight. Like he knocked down Olavi. He was doing really well standing anyway. You know, he might not have the prettiest looking stand up, like I don't either, but he was pretty efficient. Um, as opposed to someone like Philpott that has a pretty nice looking striking, but who was the last guy he got out of there? You know, so. But I don't know the confidence to say that is just because I know it's possible. I know anything can happen. You know, like who am I to say that can't happen to me? Maybe that's the downfall why I got knocked down, because maybe I believed too much that I couldn't get hurt, you know. So it's just me trying to be real. I might, you know. I don't think I'll ever get submitted in MMA either. But someone as bad as Philpott in jiu-jitsu, he might submit me, right? He might knock me down. I'm not all there, and he pulls on a guillotine and gets me out. Rodolfo Vieira tapping the UFC. Who am I to say that can't happen to me? You know. So I'm just try to be real. You know.
Does that realness and that openness make it any calmer stepping in there, not just against Alan Philpott, but just in general? You said earlier you're not going to enter this fight with any emotion. Do you do anything to let go of that emotion? Like, what kind of benefits does that give you?
Um, that's a good question. I guess I'm just externalizing how I want to act. You know. So maybe I do have some emotion going there, but at least what I'm saying is what I'm trying to behave like. You know, I'm not perfect. I make a bunch of mistakes, even on the mental side of things, but that's how I want to go in there. You know, like if I like him or hate, like I didn't like Van Heeden, but I wanted to knock him out. I don't think he minded me either, and he did knock me out. No, so I don't think you liking someone or not should come into the fight. I'll fight anyone apart from a handful of people that are very close to me. I'll fight anyone. Like you can be. I could have trained with you. I could have not trained with you. I don't really care. I can, you know. Um. So I guess that's just how I want to behave. You know, I want to go in there and try to just see it as a competition. I'm trying to compete to see if I'm better than you, and if I am better than you, good, I'll move on. If I'm not, I'll try to work hard and come back.
Rod, I thank you so much for your time. I've got one final question for you. I do appreciate you talking to me today. Uh, It is January 2024 when I'm interviewing you today. If I were to interview you in January 2025, what do you hope happens for you in 2024?
Um, man, this is a long shot, but I wouldn't mind another crack at the featherweight title, you know. But I know a lot of things would have to happen for me to get there. I don't even know if I'll be competing at featherweight much, but I don't know. I want to defend the bantamweight a couple of times. If something makes sense, hopefully fight for the featherweight one more time. It would be good after failing a couple of times to try and get that belt before I'm done, you know. And or get one of the rematches of the losses. I like to do that, you know. So if I can rematch Ethan, if I can rematch Van Heiden, Khan, or whatever, one of those guys.
Well, you talked about it before, speaking things into existence. That's the first step. It can be. You one more. I know I said one more question, but something you did mention that you said just then. You said you'd like to capture that second title before you're done. Is that something that is in your head? Do you have an idea, rough idea of when you could see yourself stepping away from the sport?
Um, yeah, it's in my head. I'm 35, you know. But I'm still having fun with this, and I enjoy competing. I think I'm gonna have a hard time to stop competing after competing 10 years in jiu-jitsu and since 2020 doing as many fights as I've been doing. It's just the best part of training and of the life that I'm living. You know, I own a gym, I compete, I love it. The ups and downs and I think I'm gonna have a hard time stepping away from that. But I know I'm 35 and soon I'm gonna have to go away and turn into one of those guys that just does the masters divisions at jiu-jitsu comps, you know. But until that happens, we'll get a few more fights going.
Maybe become an MMA coach?
Maybe for sure. I enjoy the sport, man. I think I enjoy MMA. Um, I love MMA. I think it's my favorite sport of all time. Um, Within MMA, I love jiu-jitsu. That's the martial, if that makes sense. That's the martial arts I love the most. That's what I love training the most. But I love MMA. You know, I love being able to like use jiu-jitsu and go into there in the cage and who's better, you know? Who's the most mentally strong and who can get out of there victorious. I love MMA. So if I can, I'll definitely I'll try to be involved as much as I can until I die for sure.
Rod Costa, I thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for talking to me today. Good luck to you and the team on the fight.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. Awesome talking to you, man. Thank you.